We caught wind of a guy here local, about an hour up the hill, who has a field of broken dreams. Same old story. Inherited the mess, too many rigs, most all of them are junk, needs to clean up. So we headed on up the hill to go see what he had. He only had one 67 to 72 complete vehicle up there, if you could even call this complete. And so, naturally, of course, I bought it. So here it is, 1969 step-side short bed two-wheel drive. Left to die, sitting underneath the trees for who knows how many years. I got this truck cheap, really cheap. I only paid $300 for this little step-side pickup. And that spawned an idea in my head on the drive home. And I thought, hey, got it for so cheap, let's keep the ball rolling. Let's do a budget build. So the $5,000 cheap date, nicknamed short bed pickup build, was born. This is the start of that story. So I want to build this truck basically entirely out of spare parts, and be in it for $5,000 or less, and have it be a running, driving, pickup that anybody can be proud of, And I want to do that because I know how daunting it can be with these trucks, and the values, what they're selling for, going for it. I'm not made of money. This isn't picking on the rich guys or feel sorry for us poor guys, but I just want to document this, and have it be something you guys can look at or relate to, and be something that is fun for everybody to watch it come together. This was a factory 6-cylinder 4-speed truck from the factory. All that stuff was long gone by the time I got it, and I'm just kind of Scooby-Dooing it because there's no SPID, but judging by motor mounts and VIN, CS, and whatnot, it was a 6-cylinder truck, manual brakes, manual steering, pretty sparse, not surprising because most factory step-side short beds were. This was the cheapest truck you could get with a bed in 67 to 72. So a lot of government trucks for factory step-side short beds, a lot of company fleet trucks, and civilians looking to get a cheap truck. This is what they bought, and a lot of people who bought a step-side, they're hunting a cheap truck, and so they kept that rolling. They didn't opt for whole other things on top of that. So 6-cylinder truck, plain Janer, but yeah. I'm not going to put that back in there. I've got the perfect motor stick in it. We're going to make use of that posi rear and do some burnouts, because it gives a little hint for it right there. I've got a 1969 factory 396 big block that was out of a custom camper 69 pickup I had many years ago. I pulled it out, kept the motor, it ran great, and I'm going to shoehorn it into this little step-side short bed. Yeah. So it had a front clip on it when I bought it, but it was wrecked, and I pulled it off. I was able to save a driver's side fender, but I'm on the hunt for a passenger fender and hood in factory white. The door here is white. It was primered, but it's actually a 67 door, not original to the truck. It's got a big old can opener mark down here, but I'm not worried about that. I've already sourced the door. I've got a correct year white door for it. So just need a few front clip body panels for it and whatnot, hopefully in white. We've got time there. I'm doing all that because, well, patina's cool. It's all the craze, having a patina short bed C10. Well, with this particular build, it's all we can afford. And with the budget of $5,000, paint and bodywork, all that kind of stuff, that's not even a topic of conversation we can bring up. So we're rocking what we got, making the most of it. We're going to spend the money where it counts down below on the chassis and the running gear, make it a nice running and driving truck. And that starts this weekend. I'm going to go get a donor for this, a factory 72, really rough roach of a truck, but it's got, of course, 5-lug half-ton running gear to swap out the 6-lug drum brake stuff. So we're gonna have discs in the front, and then the rear end is a 12-bolt 308 gear with factory posi in it. So two birds, or a couple birds, it was one stone there. We're gonna hit with that donor truck and update this drivetrain a little bit, make it drive a little bit nicer. So here's that donor. This is a 1972 half-ton two-wheel drive Suburban. I got it in kind of a package deal with a 1968 four-wheel drive Suburban I had just bought from the same guy. The ochre Suburban was intended to be parts for the blue four-wheel drive, but as soon as I saw it, I realized it would also be perfect for this budget short bed build. It had all the 5-lug bits I was after, and a factory posi 308 rear end. Do not let this video fool you. This ochre Suburban is rotted. Then I just had to wait for an open window in the shop schedule, a little gap between customer builds. As soon as I had one, I pulled the truck inside. This was the truck here, right at the start of 2024. So here's some of the best advice I can give you guys, and most of you already probably know this. But if you're going to get into old Chevys and play in these trucks, make friends who share the same interests. And that just comes natural with the hobby. It happens pretty easy. I've got some great friends, some old and some new, who I've made through being involved with these trucks. Get together on a weekly basis for shop nights. We take turns going to each other's shops to work on each other's projects. This is a place for something like Cheap Date to really shine. With a casual build like this, you can get a lot of help from your friends, and it's super fun to share the hobby and to work on their projects as well. So I'm telling you guys, make friends, truck friends, that is, who are into this as well as you. If they don't have a project, be a bad influence, convince them to get a truck, and just enjoy it together. It really helps to keep everybody motivated, and it's just a blast. So here's some footage from the first shop night of us working on Cheap Date.
Yes, you want this done for your shop, for your party.
Well, yeah.
He thinks he's gonna steal burnout team off. Oh, yeah.
I never owned it.
I don't think
I never had it. I never had
the
it.
host ever deserves to win the burnout competition.
I don't think the host deserves to win anything.
Joe's gonna show up in his Toyota this year.
Yeah,
Well, at least mine did a burnout this year. It was pretty embarrassing.
we were gonna pretty much outcast you from coming back to the party if it didn't. Totally redeemed yourself.
Yeah. You just gonna cut it out?
Looks like a mint log washer too.
Oh, his brand new. Yep, he said lock washer, and that thing was there because of me. I've been carting around this big block for years, and one of the last times I went to move it, it didn't have an intake on it. I was trying to set up the engine hoist as low as possible to the engine to pick it out of the high area it was at. I turned my body and reached with my right hand to grab a tool off the toolbox while my left hand was still near the motor. I had a dumb moment, I wasn't paying attention, and the lock washer slipped between my fingers and fell right into the intake valley of the motor. It was gone, disappeared. We looked and looked for it that night, couldn't find it. I knew it was in the motor somewhere. So us finding it on this shop night all those months later was a relief. While Mike was at it, he popped the heads off so we could take a peek inside the motor. Just as I expected, everything looked really good. This motor's been rebuilt at some point and does not have a lot of miles on it. I'm fully confident it's going to be a great motor for this little short bed, even though it'll probably always be known as the lock washer special. That's why they pay you the big bucks. Good job. Cool. Cool.
There it is.
Did it get any better?
Hey, what's this?
Sensei? That's poop, probably.
I think it's.
Hey, there's live beans in here. Look at this.
No shit.
You waking up?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. They've been waking up.
They gotta go. Oh, your friend of yours, Jay?
There was a few more in the cabin. I was tearing them apart. The wasps.
Yeah.
Yellow jackets.
Arthritis.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Huh.
Dolly that.
Maybe Jake was right. How about down? Yeah. Right here. Okay, go for it. Yeah. It's climbing. When I hit it back and forth, it's kind of climbing.
It's working. It's a budget build, right?
I was the biggest pessimist of the whole fucking place when I saw this.
Yeah, they set you free on it for a half hour and it's fixed.
Hey.
Hey guys, I gotta get out of here.
Okay, thanks, Doc. Did you, So here's the aftermath of the first shop night on Cheap Date. We started off by removing the bed, then all the old 6-lug running gear. After that, we took the cab off the truck. As you guys just saw, we got a great start on repairing the roof damage that this cab had. You get 4 or 5 old body guys together, give them a port of power and a bunch of hammers, just sit back. You're about to witness some magic happen. Pretty cool. They came together pretty fast. Some more light work and an outer roof skin, and I'll have that button back up. It'll be hard to notice that ever even happened. So at this point now, it was time to work on the frame. Okay, tonight, got the frame all hung up here, getting ready to paint it. It's a really solid and dry frame. I'm pretty happy with it. I only had one little owie. I had to fix the shock mount hole where the stud goes for the front shocks. It was all egged out. So I got that all doctored up. That everyone was fine. Gave it a good scrubbing, wire wheel, sanded it down. We're gonna do the old pour 15 trick on this one and go with the top coat after that. Of course, sandblast and powder coat would be ideal. Kind of like Adam's frame over here. Never mind, it's a little dusty. But this is the best way to do it, of course. But this costs, you know, usually around $1,000. Our closest one, the one I use, they're a couple hours away. Not knocking that one bit. That's the best way to do it, but just not in the budget for this truck. So we're trying to build a truck for under $5,000. And this is gonna cost me a couple $100 and all of today it took to get it ready. So some significant savings there. And for what this is, it's gonna be a driver. So it's good enough. It'll be nice. So I gotta get this blown off, get a couple plastic sheets over some of the stuff here in the shop, and she'll be ready to squirt this thing. All done. Turned out pretty decent. It's a little glossy. I was hoping for more of a satin look, but you know, can't hate this. It's not too bad. And I'm sure as it dries, it'll chill out a little bit. So got a space heater around here because it's cold. It's cold in Washington State, or else I would have just sprayed this thing outside and not destroyed this corner of the shop. But should have laid plastic down here. That's where I should have put it. That's all good. Didn't think it was gonna make that big of a mess. But yeah, turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna let it hang overnight and dry. Get it off the hoist tomorrow and get on some jack stands, start assembling it. All right, guys, working on cheap date today. Got the frame set up on some jack stands. Got the rear hitch drilled and on the truck. But this morning, working on this. This is our 5-lug donor. It came in a package deal with 68 4-wheel drive Suburban I bought here as a parts truck for that. But doubling down as a parts truck for cheap date with a 5-lug disc brake, you know, setup and whatnot. And it does have a 308 Posi rear, factory. That's in good shape, coil spring, of course. So I of course waited for it to snow to finally get this 5-lug stuff ripped out of here. So I've been rolling around the ground this morning, undoing all those bolts and holding that front cross member in. Yeah, I've got everything undone, so I'm just ready to drop the jack down and drop this whole cross member out of it, get it inside, start blowing it apart, and I ordered new brakes, ball joints, all that jazz for it and whatnot. And then to ease the copious amount of junk and keeping it mobile around here, I'm going to stuff the 6-lug front cross member that was out of the cheap date short bed back up in here, and the rear end back up in it to keep this Suburban rolling. I apologize for the wind in the last video. This clip was even worse, so I'm doing a voiceover instead. I was just wanting to show you guys how rusty this 2-wheel drive Suburban is. It is shot. The bottom 6 inches of the truck are just gone. Now, I've bought a ton of these trucks. I've rust repaired a lot of these trucks. I've built a lot of these trucks. And the truth of it is, you need parts trucks to repair the nice trucks. And this Suburban is a parts truck. Its roof is solid as can be. The lower portion of the truck, there's just no structure left. This thing was driven in a Saltic environment. And you can see just little rust chunks falling off every time I close the door. But the worst of it is that whole entire B-pillar and quarter panel assembly moving in and out a couple inches at a time every time I shut that door. The Suburban is beyond its best days. Perfect donor to help other trucks live on. And that's how you build stuff on a budget, by utilizing trucks like these, parts trucks, secondhand parts, and just maybe a little more work and hunting around. But you know, going online and buying that $1,000, you know, 5-lug disc brake swap kit, sure, that's great, but it costs you a lot more money in the end. If you can do it this way, you'll save huge money across the whole entire build, really. But Chevy parts, use Chevy parts to build your Chevy. That's the best way to do it. All right, part 2 of the 5-lug stripping of this donor. I got the rear end out. Thought maybe a bit of the way. Every nut and bolt as crusty as the last. That's the 6 lug going back in again to keep this thing rolling. Ironically enough, we discovered on shop night that's a posi rear end, but this is also a posi rear end. You know, the 5 lug is kind of the industry standard to do the earlier trucks, you know, 70 and back to swap them. And, you know, a lot of people associate it with getting disc brakes in the front, which of course is, you know, it's a plus. It's great. You know, I get excited though too, because, you know, stock to stock, starting in 71 with the 5 lug, they had bigger drums in the back. You know, it's got little baby drums on the earlier trucks and bigger drums on the 5 lug trucks. And then sure, it's your wheel options. You know, you get way better wheel options switching to a 5 lug. You know, so you get that little short bed, have some car-like looking wheels with some 5-spoke, you know, American Racing torque thrusts, you know, Krager's, you know, et cetera, et cetera. 6 lug, your wheel options are pretty limited. But yeah, and another plus is that on the front hub assemblies, they got a much bigger bearing on the 5 lug trucks. The 6 lug 1970 and back have a really small, you know, inner and outer wheel bearing. And so it's kind of a plus to upgrade that. And you upgrade to 1/2 inch lug studs versus 7/16. Wheel bearings, bigger brakes, disc brakes, and better wheel options. So that's why I'm out here in the cold, rolling around the concrete out here, ripping out all these parts, is so that my short bed step side can have all those things I just listed. But hey guys, working on cheap date here tonight, reinstalling this engine cross member. Now this is the one out of the 72 5 lug donor Suburban I used. And for the most part, it's all just a bolt in. There's one little area that needs some work, but it's piddly. And I'll show you guys it here at the end of the video. But for the most part, it's all just a direct bolt in. But the reason I'm doing this video is because of these. Now, these are nothing special, but they kind of are. And I knew I'd be doing this job later tonight, so I grabbed a set of these this morning off of another parts truck at my house, off of a 72 factory C20 pickup truck. So what these are is a frame stiffening bracket. And they go and they bolt in with the engine cross member to the frame rail. Goes and uses a majority of the same bolts. And they're, like I say, there's kind of simple little bracket that goes there. You can see it here with the engine stand that will be in place. Kind of hides back in there and strengthens everything up. You don't have to have these. Like I say, only select trucks came with them. They started putting them in trucks around 71. So 71, 72, factory, C20, and C30. Only the larger GVW trucks, and of course only 2-wheel drive. The land of four-wheel drives here, we're talking 2-wheel drive stuff only tonight. And if I just kind of show you guys, because a lot of times you don't know about these, and they're a really kind of simple part to get your hands on. Well, if the donor truck has a motor out, or if it's just a frame lying around, they're pretty easy to get your hands on a set of these and put them on your truck. Again, if your truck, you have the motor out of it and you got all part like this. But hey, it's one of those things. While you're here, why not? So I'm gonna get this set all bolted up in here with this engine cross member the rest of the way. And oh yes, this bolt here. So this is the one thing it does not line up. You can see here, this engine cross member. All the other bolts, they all line up. These are all in, but this one right here, again, if this was a sandwich, let's say it that way, this piece of bread, we got the frame rail, that's the meat in the middle, and we got the engine cross member on the other side, and it's just a threaded nutsert on this side, 7/16 bolt. Essentially the 69 portion, the frame rail, the hole is not in the right spot. It's just a little bit off. Everything else lines up perfectly, but that hole is off via cross member versus cross member bolting to these frame rails. So now I have all these in place and bolted down. I'm just gonna use a die grinder, and I'm just gonna egg out that hole just a little bit so that I can get a bolt started and tighten it up and whatnot. But like I said, piddly, no big deal. And for the most part, this 5 lug cross member, a direct bolt in place. So I've got the big block 96 all cleaned up, put back together. New gaskets throughout, cleaned it up a little bit, gave a quick little rattle can rebuild, a little fresh Chevy orange on there, and polished the valve covers a little bit. It's a good run motor. I know it is. The truck I pulled it out of, it ran really good. So I got that ready to go in. And then out here, just Here's the mess. 12 bolt posi rear, factory posi, trailing arm. We got turbo 400 transmission. So you put three of those things together, it only means one thing: burnouts. Quick, easy, effortless burnouts in a short bed, lightweight truck with short tires on it. Should be a nice cruiser down the highway too, with that gearing and whatnot. So as you can see here, this is how we are going to keep to the budget. These are used parts. This is out of Suburban, the donor Okra Suburban I pulled out of last week, whenever the heck that was. And this is out of a 1972 3/4 ton big block truck. And it was a good running, or good operating transmission. It's greasy as can be, so I got a soak and degreaser here. Gonna pressure wash both of these, get them inside, and service the transmission. Check out the diff. I haven't looked inside of it yet, but it was a running and driving, you know, Suburban. And so assuming all is well there, I know this operates and it is well enough. So this is how you build a truck. A cool truck for under $5,000. You use stuff like this. All right, I'm soaking wet. Couple hours later, finally got these blasted or pressure washed. Ugh. Yeah, wiping the fucking grease out of my eyes. And everything else pressure washed too. That thing, that pressure washer, I was just starting on these ones and it threw a fit. It was acting like it was, I don't know, making all sorts of noise, and a bolt had actually backed out of this cover, you know, that goes into the pump here, and it was, well, the oil out. And so the thing shut down. It actually has a little oil sensor. Fired it back up, it's making all sorts of shitty noises and acting like it's gonna blow up, and you know, after I put more oil in it and stuff. Anyways, this thing's throwing a fit, so I decided to hurry up and get everything else out of the shop. It needed to be pressure washed. Those are some diffs, 72, Dana 44 12 bolt, K10 diffs for a customer truck. So I pressure washed those. Of course, those parts I talked about originally. And this is a Turbo 350 205 out of 71 K20 that's going together here in the shop. So I push this out here and pressure wash this, and then these are the 5 lug rest of the bits for the cheap date short bed. And so I just gave them a quick blast and hose off the pad and tried to hurry up and do it all before that thing blew up. But now it's running fine. I don't know, whatever. Hey, these cleaned up great. Everyone's cleaned up great. Okay, I'm gonna go home and change, get some dry clothes on, come back and get some of the stuff inside, and keep on trucking. Well, after last night, we've got ourselves nearly a roller. It was shop night last night. That's why I was busy pressure washing during the day, trying to get things ready, get some projects lined out for the guys to help with and whatnot. It was a good time. So we got the transmission rear end ready to go in, and got the rear end cleaned up and painted. Got it in place, got that transmission bolted up to the motor, got both them in place on the chassis, and yeah, no, it was pretty cool. Made a list, and me and the guys kind of just tacked the head on, and we got quite a bit done. It was pretty fun. So thanks again to Jesse, Reggie, Devin, and Alex for coming down and lending a hand. Devin, right off the bat, he bent up new front brake lines. He used the old ones as a template before we put the motor in, because it's easy to get to while it's not in place. And I'm going to reuse some of the brake lines, the main one that runs back, and I've got some good ones running up to the master cylinder from those lower lines. But those ones on that crossover from that rusty Suburban, they were just so rusty in a few spots that, you know what, just replace those, instead of reusing and trying to repurpose them, because now's the time, So yeah, not too much money spent there, just a couple blanks from Napa, some fittings, and yeah, guys got himself some new brake lines, and gonna reuse some of the old ones. But yeah, that's what it's all about. You can buy a brand new stainless line kit, like that Blazer frame there, that powder coated frame has, but it's expensive, and it's nice. It really is the best way to do it, but it adds up. We're trying to be in this frame, and this whole truck for under $5,000, when that chassis has got well over $5,000 worth of parts on it, between the new fuel tank, new steering box, new lift kit, new nice badass shocks, stainless lines, everything. It adds up, and it's nice. That really is the way to do it. Well, we're doing something different here. We're doing good, and it looks good too. But if you really were here in person, you guys could tell that specimen is quite a bit nicer than this, even though they really look the same probably on this camera. You can see the trans there. You know, it's just it's not rebuilt, it's not brand new. It's just an original, you know, Turbo 400 cleaned up, bare aluminum, bolted to a rattle can. You know, cleaned up. You know, decent enough, good running big block. Nothing crazy here. The level grease and the valve covers, kind of cleaning and prettying things up. Some used headers cleaned up and painted white. Look good right now, but after the first probably 5 minutes of driving around or even runtime, they're gonna be flaking and, you know, and dirty. And after that first plug change, you have fingerprints all over them. But hey, it's cool, man. It's hot rodding. This is you know, this is doing on a budget, and this is it's still cool and it's fun. You know, ceramic coated headers would be badass. Well, that cuts into 1/5 of the you know, the $5,000 budget, you know, or some stainless headers. Sure, that'd be great, but no, not for this one. We can't. So anyways, rear suspension. This stuff actually just showed up right before shop night, so that was cool. Kind of gave us a lot of stuff to do and whatnot. So we got a 5-inch drop in the back. We got 5-inch springs. I'm gonna do about 3 or 4 in the front. Got a little play around to do there. Got to get together and kind of see how we're sitting. Make sure it's sitting level or a little bit high in the back. I'm okay with that. I like that look. And we got new bushings. We pushed in the control arms, the trailing arms before putting them in place because those were just wiped out. So got new bushings and bolts there. New U-bolts because the rear ones we had to cut them to get them out. This is a 12-bolt posi out of that Donor Suburban. It does have a little chip on the ring gear on one of the tubes. I really hope it's good. Fingers crossed.
Oh, look at that.
Posi. We knew that, but what's it like?
Just spin it.
Was that pitting on that one?
Oh, pitting's okay. I'm just looking for missing teeth.
Oh, okay.
Pitting's fine.
All right. Oh, missing tooth.
No. Oh, it is.
Oh.
You know what?
Oh, we're on it. Just run it. Yeah, that's still good. There's only one.
Why did I have to say that? It probably just fell off right when I said that. Is that junk right there? There's a little chewy in there, isn't it? Shiny, happy. Shiny, not so happy.
As long as the locker works.
You know what? That's all right. I'm not going to worry about it. The posi's still in good shape, still works good. We're just going to run it. It's going to be doing burnouts all summer long. So I'm bound to ruin it the rest of the way myself, or it's bound to last a whole other 50 years with that chipped tooth. We will find out and see. But, oh, I want to talk about these. So yeah, you're using that brake line. That one's in good shape. Original one off the truck. This fuel line is off of a parts truck that was at my house. I went and grabbed it this morning. This is a 3/8 fuel line. I had to get that because this frame was a 6-cylinder frame and it had just 5/16 fuel line factory. Well, of course, we need more than that to feed this big block. So this was off of a 70 GMC big block, 3/4 ton 2-wheel drive. So it fits with this frame configuration and everything. It's bent to, you know, how this frame is. So grab that off that truck and get it cleaned up, get those last 2 lines in place. Got a little bit more plumbing to do. All the 5-lug last little bits apart and whatnot. And see what I got, see what's good. We're gonna run stock spindles. Just doing drop springs in the front, drop springs in the back. That's how we're dropping it. Stock disc brake spindles here. Need to get the ball joints out of these control arms, get them cleaned up, get them painted, new ball joints, everything in them, and paint up the spindles, and it'll be all ready to go back together. So I do have control arm over in the vise over here. Kind of gives us a view of what I'm up against. Pretty rusty. I might actually end up sandblasting these just because they're so crusty. They're again from that crusty burb front cross member. And we can see here 50-year-old original ball joints. That's what those rivets mean. These have been here for 50 years. Sad part is they're actually still in pretty good shape, but you know, with this old, you know, dried up boot, and you don't know how rusty they are really inside in that joint if you're leaving take grease. And so you know, a summer of hard driving around, easily those could wipe themselves the rest of the way out. So the time to do it's now. Gonna pop those out, get some new joints in, and got new brakes, like I said, got new front brakes too. I'm spending the money there. You know, total investment so far is a little over $2,000. and most all of that is in this box of parts right here. It's well over $1,000 worth of stuff right there. But I want to spend the money there. I make it safe. You know, brakes make it safe. The new joints, again, safety, and it makes it drive nice. You know, I want this thing to drive nice. I want where anybody can hop in it and drive it with confidence. I want my wife to be able to drive this thing, and you know, I want her to actually like it and not be, you know, some raggedy old piece of shit. You know, I mean, I want it to just go on the road decent, and that's how you make a truck do it. As in the brakes, ball joints, and all that kind of stuff. New suspension, we got new springs, we got new shocks, you know, we got new drop shocks there to match with the, you know, the drop springs and everything. So should run around the road nice, especially with the factory, you know, coil springer suspension and whatnot. So we want it to be a nice driving truck. Might not be a nice enough looking truck on the outside, you know. Someday maybe you'll see that, but I'm trying to do all this here since we have this thing completely apart and building it from the ground up. I'm trying to do all this once and never have to go back on this. A guy can paint a truck later. A guy can do his interior later, really nice later, you know. So this stuff I'm trying to do now. I don't want to pull this truck back apart. I don't want to do it twice. We're doing it once. We're doing it now. You guys get the gist of it. It's cheap date. Thanks for following along, guys. Next up, finish up the suspension bits up front and get started on this cab. Get the roof the rest of the way sorted out, and we got our hands full of the normal rust repair these things always need and whatnot. So I'll be tackling that and doing some videos, little bits of it, trying to capture some of that stuff and share with you guys too. And the bed too. I need to get started on the bed, and we've got a kind of a fun little project plan with the bed to make it look a little bit better. Gonna be filling in a factory spare tire hole with another factory step side fender. Thanks again, guys, for following and supporting it. And yeah, cheap date, $5,000 short bed.